Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi Macnish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. NIF payouts to investors reach over $94 million. Cortex and CeraVe launch empowerment initiative in Trinidad and Tobago schools. NLCB faces backlash from agents over new payment policies. And Arrive Alive to hold Remembrance Day for road traffic victims. Now for the details. The National Investment Fund has announced a $94.2 million payout to bondholders, with $85.2 million distributed for Series B and C bonds on August 9th, marking the 12th coupon payment since NIF's creation. This brings the total payouts to bondholders to $1.29 billion. The first coupon on the new NIF2 bonds, totaling $9 million, was also issued. The next payment is set for February 9th, 2025. NIF highlighted strong performances from key investee companies. Republic Financial Holdings reported a 9-month profit of $1.5 billion. Angostura Holdings paid an interim dividend of 10 cents per share, and One Caribbean Media saw a profit increase to $13.4 million. International brands Cortex and CeraVe have joined forces to launch the Empower Me project in Trinidad and Tobago schools, an educational program promoting menstrual health, skincare, and body confidence. Launched on October 18th, the initiative includes workshops and interactive sessions led by health professionals, along with free samples of Cortex and CeraVe products. So far, over 3,000 product samples have been distributed to students at schools, including St. Joseph's Convent and Bishop Anstey High School. The brands aim to reach more schools across the country in the coming months. The National Lotteries Control Board is set to enforce new policies on December 1st, despite strong opposition from the Online Gaming Agents Association of Trinidad and Tobago, which threatens to shut down lottery booths nationwide. ICNTT President Dean Prasad criticized the 4 policies, calling them draconian, and citing issues with banks that could delay payments beyond agents' control. The new policies include a $25,000 bond for reinstating machines after suppression, penalties for late deposits, and treating missed payments as larceny. Prasad urged NLCB to work with banks to prevent agents from being penalized for banking delays, giving NLCB a week to respond before potential protest action. Arrive Alive will host the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims on November 17th. This year's theme, That Day, encourages reflection on how road accidents change lives. Events start at 6 a.m. with 3 cycling rides across Trinidad and a 1-lap walk, run, and ride at the Queen's Park Savannah at 7 a.m., all with police and ambulance escorts. Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sinanan will speak, and there will be a traffic village with live demonstrations, kids' activities, and free eye testing. Arrive Alive President Sharon Inglefield called on drivers to reduce speed and adapt to conditions, noting a 6% rise in road fatalities and a 54% increase in pedestrian deaths this year. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi Macnish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for being with us here on WESN. Let's tell you what's happening over the next half hour or so on this edition of the program. In one case, speed limit review to be considered, but no promises. That's the story in the last Sunday's Express. We'll tell you a little bit about what's in it. And then the following day, the Express wrote an editorial on the subject. From that, reporting changed the behavior of road users. So let's go to this story in the first place. Speed limit to be reviewed, to be considered, but no promises. Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, Rishi Sukai, suggested that the review of the speed limit on the nation's roads will be considered, but it is not a measure he can promise will happen. He was speaking with the Sunday Express via phone and was responding to questions following a statement made by the road safety advocacy group Arrive Alive, President Sharon Inglefield. She would like to see the speed limit on the main roads reduced and cited that so far this year there have been 22 pedestrian road fatalities that happened on the main roads and 18 on the highways in Trinidad and Tobago. She observed that motorists had a very driver-centric mentality and often behaved like they owned the roads, but at the same time, pedestrians had a, quote, bounce me down mentality, unquote, and said they often cross the roads with a certain attitude. Well, Arrive Alive is planning for an event to take place in a couple of days at the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain. We want to talk about that, and we want to talk about the advocacy that is continuing, because the Express editorial suggests change the behavior of road users. With us on this edition of the program then, Mr. Dinesh Craig Mahabia. He's the operations manager at Arrive Alive. Good to have you, sir.
Hi, good day, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Can you talk a little bit about the event that is coming up in the wake of this latest reporting about how we use the roads in the country?
Well, yeah, the World Day of Remembrance is an international event. It's been happening for quite a while now. And Trinidad, we have adopted that Arrive Alive. We are hosting that event in Trinidad this year, and it remembers the lives of those passed on the nation's roads, those who have lost their lives in road traffic accidents on the nation's roads. Now, that deeply affects the families of these persons who are lost. You know, so in a lot of cases, they are breadwinners. In some cases, they are children. And these families need some sort of support. At Arrive Alive, we do provide free counseling for these families. We do provide free groceries in certain circumstances where needed, and among other initiatives that we do. So this is a cumulative effort of what we do throughout the year, and it's a worldwide initiative on the third Sunday of every November to commemorate these persons lost and to create awareness in the country. And we do so with a very interactive traffic village, or what we call of education. When you come down there, you see demonstrations, you get entertainment, and you get interactive booths where you can learn while having some fun. And we also do a memorial walk around the savannah to raise awareness, and a special candle lighting ceremony to honor those who have passed. So a lot is happening in that event, and you know, we plan throughout the year to always have it. And it's something that, you know, it makes all our efforts throughout the year come together in one place.
Okay, so thus far, there have been 22 pedestrian deaths because of road accidents on the roads in Trinidad and Tobago. For the length of time that this organization has been in place, and there are other groups of people, other organizations working, I suppose, towards a same kind of outcome, a reduction in road fatalities, a reduction in accidents. What would you say has been the effect of the organization, or how would you rate the advocacy that has been taking place when you put it against continued incidents on the roads in the country?
Well, you know, at Arrive Alive, we exist because not enough is being done. You know, it has to be said. You know, and that's what we do. We have so many initiatives that we don't get to market to the public. So just to make you aware, we go to schools from primary, secondary, and tertiary level schools to provide free education classes on road safety. And that's where it starts. It starts at the youngest level. We have a driver's rehabilitation course for those who have accumulated demerit points, for those who have lost their license. And that is approved by the Ministry of Roads and Transport. That is unique to Trinidad and Tobago. It's not a defensive driving course, which is an American-based thing. This is based on our demerit point system. So we have a driver's rehabilitation course. And, you know, in a lot of ways, that course, which is very popular because people are losing their licenses out there, if people are not aware of that. But it's very popular in the sense that it's very well attended because people are racking up demerit points throughout the country. And we play a role in rehabilitating those drivers. And it shows us that when someone gets a driver's license, they may not be necessarily well placed to drive a vehicle, which is very concerning. So that course gives us a lot of insight into what's happening in the country. And also, with that course, we have a new driver's workshop for persons under 25 and persons who have not driven a vehicle at all. We have a new driver's workshop, first-time drivers that we can educate them as well. So alongside what we do for families, we also have those courses, and these things we do to advocate our road safety education initiative. And when we have events like this, and we have a road safety awards event, this is what we do to try to bring awareness to the public, because a lot of what we do is behind closed doors. We try to change one individual at a time. But when we have events like this, we try to change a lot of minds. We try to make people aware. But like I said at the start, not enough is being done in all areas.
You said that some people who acquire a driver's permit shouldn't get them because they're not equipped to use them on the roads?
Well, I can't be the judge of that. That's what the licensing authority is in charge of. And but we would like to see more rigorous standards, so maybe better education in terms of the way that drivers are prepared in getting and how prepared they are to go onto the nation's roads, because we see people I am saying this from the perspective of people coming to our rehabilitation workshops having accumulated a bunch of infractions on the road, not knowing what it is. And I know that ignorance of the law is not an excuse, but do they have the right avenues to be educated? There's a National Road Safety Council happening, which we are a part of, and steps are being slowly being investigated in that direction to are persons acquiring driver's licenses actually well placed to go on the nation's roads. Is definitely something worth looking at.
So are the authorities, the drivers, the licensing department, for instance, involved in that group of sort of people who are involved in this business?
Yeah, the Ministry of Works and Transport, for the most part, they're at the helm of it, and they oversee all operations in that regard. So they have, let's say, the right authority to make those decisions.
So let's talk a little bit about to the extent that you can, about the meeting with the Minister Sukai. I mean, he said that well, he couldn't promise anything.
So I'm aware of it. Ms. Inglefield was really busy today at preparing for this event on Sunday, and I'm aware of the comments he made, and I see what he's saying. Things don't just change overnight, and like I mentioned, there are ongoing talks, there are ongoing initiatives to go in that direction. I think what we want is a little bit of impetus into those initiatives. We want some bite, not just the bark. So that is what Ms. Inglefield is calling for in those articles. The minister, of course, will just have to say what he can in that regard. But reduction in speed limits is because we're asking for that, because the faster you go, the more they put lives at risk. It's really as simple as that. And there are many things being said, but I try to avoid any doubt. We don't want to create doubt in people's mind. That is not the right direction to go with anywhere it's coming from. If you create doubt in the public's mind in terms of what is happening, then people may not necessarily know what direction to go. So I understand both sides of the coin, but we would love to see some initiatives actually taking fruit.
And that, what you would say, if you would have ranked those initiatives, or what the demands would be, or what Arrival Live's proposal should be, the reduction in the speed limit you would put at the top of that, or what are some of the other matters, wherever you put that?
Yeah, we are engaged in, well, it's not just an outright call for reduction in speed limits. It's in speed limits in certain areas, and that is what is mentioned in the article as well. It's speed limits when you come up to major junctions. When you're coming northbound and you pass Carney, not many people know that on the highway it goes from 100. The speed limit goes from 100 to goes to 60 when you pass that bridge. So not many people know that, and they continue at 100. Because you're coming up to a major flyover, a major intersection. And that is one start, sometimes, in an article, we may not get across all the details of the point we're trying to make. It's summarized a lot, which is why this platform and what you're doing is important. We get to hash it out a little bit more in detail. It's not just an outright, nationwide call for just arbitrary reduction in speed limits. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. There are procedures of this happening all over the world. We have done data collection at major junctions along the priority bus route, showing that the infrastructure is not there in place for pedestrians, and the priority bus route is high pedestrian traffic. This is daily commute of thousands of people every single day, and sometimes the crossings are not there, the crossing lights are not there, just the basic necessities of keeping people safe on their commute to and from their daily activities. They are not there. So how do we in the immediate future protect lives, and how many lives are too much? If 14 people have died as pedestrians this year, and then next year 13 have died, is that a success? A reduction? No one should be dying, and asking for a call in the reduction of speed limits in approaching intersections is just a simple way of dealing with that immediately.
Yeah, well, you cite the priority bus route, but in the reporting, what we're seeing here is that there's a preponderance of deaths to the extent that the number is what it is along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway and on the highway going down to San Fernando, not so?
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple things on that, I'm from San Fernando, and I make that trek to Port of Spain every day. All right, so I see what's happening on the roads, and I see people trying to cross that road, trying to cross the highway in the middle of nowhere, and it's incredibly dangerous. Those people are risking their lives on a daily basis. Some people do that on a daily basis. Just standing on the shoulder of the highway is a huge risk. It's incredibly dangerous to do that. When workers have to, like for example, CPEP workers have to maintain the middle of the highway in the grassy areas or the plants that are there, they as well, they are risking their lives. How do they access that point without police intervention of getting them into the middle of the highway? That is incredibly dangerous for them. And those are the things that leads to deaths. Yes, there are walkovers and people are reluctant to use them, or maybe they are made not enough walkovers to go there. But when we look at the statistics of where it happens, we are looking at a screenshot. We are looking at statistics of people who have died. I would love for there to be a robust data reporting and statistic analysis on what is happening. For example, people who are injured. We only get statistics on fatalities. There are numerous number of cases where people are injured, pedestrians are injured, whether injured in the case that they are seriously injured and are life-changing, or injured in the case that they are hospitalized and their life is in danger. And these cases are not shown in any statistics. So to start with statistics, we need a robust statistics system to show us where this is happening, what time this is happening, what sort of injuries have happened, and what are the response times, or where have these people gone, and what is in place for them. Without statistics, we cannot, that helps advocacy the most. We cannot advocate for change without knowing the facts.
Do you think that more people end up with injuries than those who die?
Well, I can't say for sure because we don't have the proper statistics in place to say that. But those go unnoticed. Yes, we don't want any fatalities. But what happens to a man who is crippled for life crossing the highway? That's not in our reports here. We don't see that in our statistics, but it's happening. So when you add those, so we're seeing almost 100 deaths so far for the year. Christmas is coming up. We have to say a prayer for the nation, but how many people have been seriously injured, or even if not seriously injured, just injured or involved in accident? How many accidents have we had? These are the kind of statistics that we need to have, and that's what's happening, and that's what drives the change. That's what drives response times. That's what saves lives.
62% increase compared to last year. That is a huge increase, Ms. Inglefield is pointing out. Correct?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is catastrophic. We've more than doubled the amount of people's lives being lost on the road. And I saw the editorial that you mentioned, but the editorial said in 2017 it dropped for 3 years, and then it rose in 2021, and that editorial apparently has forgotten that we were on lockdown during the COVID period and hardly anyone was on the road. So I don't like to go into statistics because I will just openly say that there's not enough statistics, and I'm not going to quote any other statistic. That what you just said there is alarming enough for people to understand what's happening. I'm just saying there's not enough, and if we did have it, you would see those alarm bells. We would be in a state of red emergency of like, this is unacceptable. You know, so I don't like when people quote statistics and editorials claiming certain things because it can be twisted for any means. But let's just get the statistics. How about that? How about we use that as a start?
What is the message you all would like to get through to pedestrians? Because Ms. Inglefield is reported as saying here that a lot of people who use the roads as pedestrians have this bonksman attitude.
Well, you know, I recently saw in New York that jaywalking is no longer illegal. I don't know if you saw that one. So now you're free to cross at will how you want. What does that mean? That means that the pedestrian has the right of way. That means that you have to respect the pedestrian. All right. So in Trinidad, you know, that bounce me down mentality you're referring to is that is a cry for help from pedestrians. That is what that is. It's just like, you respect me. That is a cry for respect on the roads. And that's what we're saying. The drivers do not respect that they could be taking lives on the roads if they do not manage the way that they drive a vehicle properly. Driving a vehicle is a privilege, it's not a right. And people have to understand that. They have to know that they have to be safe. They are not the only persons in the road. There are cyclists who get knocked down all the time. I mean, there was a horrific pedestrian accident that made the viral video on social media. And when we see these things, the hard reality hits home. You know, I can understand where pedestrians are coming from because it seems like sometimes drivers do not respect.
To what extent the demerit system has any positive impact on the conduct of people behind the wheels of their vehicles? Because there are some people who argue that it is punitive and you know, it prevents, it takes away livelihoods from a lot of people, sometimes under spurious circumstances. There are other interest groups who challenge the authorities on this question of the demerit points.
The demerit point system has, without a doubt, been finally some way of holding accountability people who break the law. That's all it is. That it protects law-abiding citizens. It helps to deter in irresponsible driving. That's what it does. And many times, like I said, we here at Arrival Live are involved in the driver's rehabilitation course where people lose their license and have to come here, and it's about changing behavior. It's about educating people, and it's about changing attitudes. Many taxi drivers come in here, many people whose livelihood depend on it. And we have these statistics from that program to show just how they have changed. You know, we would love to have the testimony of these people to tell you, but you know, we have to protect these people's privacy. You know, they're not really willing to say anything publicly because of the situation they've been through. But there is a process in place to get your license back, and we are part of that process. So people have to be held accountable for what they do. And you know, sometimes when you ask for accountability and you put things in place, people don't like that because it involves change. And if it involves positive change, then there's going to be resistance to it. But the demerit point system has absolutely been a success, and long may it continue.
Yeah, but it's interesting you say that, because a lot of drivers and people who represent drivers in a kind of way think differently about the demerit point system. It says that in a lot of cases it puts people out of their breadwinning activities on sometimes questionable grounds, as to somebody pulls up on a corner to let somebody out, and depending on who the police officer is, you might lose some demerit points for things like what those advocates say aren't necessary, and in a lot of cases punitive.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's another side to that. There are many police officers who also let you go. There are also police officers who are concerned about, okay, you're a taxi driver, this is your livelihood, I'll slap you on the wrist this time, but don't let it happen again. So as much as some police officers will be harsh, some may be a little bit relaxed, and I understand that that's human nature. But at the end of the day, if you get a demerit point, you don't lose your license just over one basic offense. you have to commit a series of offenses or one or two serious offenses for you to lose your license and therefore lose your livelihood. So it's not just a one-off thing. It means that people who are losing their license and rack up the merit points are consistent lawbreakers, basically. They have been doing things a certain way for a period of time, and now it's time to change that to protect the lives of the people.
Yeah, I want to quote this this paragraph from the expert editorial. It says here that Ms. Inglefield also noted that road network infrastructure appears to change the behavior of road users, and it's in quotes. This has been proven in various first world countries all over the globe, she said. So when pedestrians have well-maintained infrastructure like pavements, they will be used. So what she's saying is that the infrastructure is not as well maintained as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. It is not only is it not maintained, it's probably in some cases non-existent. You know, just having a crossing light where a crossing buzzer to allow people to cross to stop road traffic so people can cross. Sometimes that's not there. That needs to be, you know, she's absolutely right because it works. We're seeing it in other countries working. You know, if you look at some of the other Caribbean islands who are heavily involved in tourism, they have to make sure that is there, right? And they're protecting the lives of the people, of the tourists who are part of their livelihood. We are talking about protecting our own people, our own citizens, and that starts at schools. That starts at the PBR along the ways where there's heavy traffic. You know, if we are not protecting children at schools and having crossing guards and having crossing lights and properly marked areas and signage, do we really care about what is happening? You know, so absolutely infrastructure is not there, it's not maintained, and I see on the highway sometimes there's signage that the trees are blocking the sign, so you have no idea what's happening. You know, we go on knowledge, but are the simple things being done.
So the reduction in the speed limit from 100 kms, that is your number one sort of bargaining point with the minister. He says that there can be no promises. To the extent that you can speak a little bit about what transpired in the meeting, what does he appear to be leaning in any particular direction as to say, well, okay, I will go and make a case for this, that, or the other? Would it be the cabinet?
Well, I can't speak for the minister, but I will say that the Honorable Minister Roatson and I will be speaking at our event as the featured speaker on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to what he has to say on Sunday. I'm not privy to what the conversation was between Ms. Inglefield and the minister, but if we had to put something as number one on our list, it would be educating. It would be educating the country on what is happening. And we right now are in initiatives that change one life at a time or change one individual at a time. When we go to schools, it's a bigger group, but we would love to be involved in nationwide initiatives of education to get these initiatives going. We continue to advocate for better education and better infrastructure. Speed limits, like I said, you know, just to make it that clear, you know, education of the public in a large way, that a nationwide initiative of education, that is what is needed. That is what we will push for to make immediate changes. We would love for the safety protocols and the basic infrastructure to be in place for schools, for major high traffic areas like I'm just saying like the PBR, like that QREP intersection or Salvo intersection of the PBR where there's high traffic every single day, City Gate, that sort of thing. Those are immediate initiatives. Yes, changing the speed limit is important because speed kills, and that's just a fact that is demonstrated everywhere in every research paper that's ever been done. More responsibility. How do we make immediate impact on the roads? That's why a speed limit change is being called for. Are we being responsible? How many lives are enough? But speed limit not across the board, but in certain areas.
Let me just quote a statement carried in the editorial on the matter on November 11th. While good pavements are undoubtedly necessary, anecdotal evidence suggests that most modern pedestrian deaths are caused by drivers losing control of their vehicles. What role do potholes, fissures, and pooled water caused by no camber play in this, and that data does not exist. Instead, the cause is always attributed to human error, such as speeding, inebriation, and sleepiness. Comment.
That's exactly what I said before. I try to avoid statements like that. This person says anecdotal evidence suggests, and then says no data exists. So I don't want to deal in contradictions like that. All right, because the statistics are not there to make statements like that. All right, so I wouldn't say that. How many people dodge a pothole and kill somebody? You know, that is what that is alluding to. I will not go down that road, but I love that they say it, because I love that it shows just how misinformed the public is. And like I said before, anything that tries to cast doubt onto any situation is not going to be helpful. What we need is clarity of direction, clarity of work, and unity working together. We will put pressure on the ministry because that's what we do. We're just in a position to do that. Somebody has to do it, all right? We put so much pressure on them, but the minister is going to speak at our event on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to that. And we tell him what we have to tell him, because we are trying our best to save lives. At the end of the day, if all I do is sit in our office here and do paperwork all day, at least I would have contributed to educating someone and saving a life. Thankfully, it's not just in our office all day. We're out there. We're out there at the schools where we're changing lives one day at a time. You know, I would encourage persons to not make statements like what you just said. You know, the statistics that I have seen is that speeding and inebriation are some of the highest factors that lead to accidents in Trinidad. And like I am saying, we need a robust data collection system that tells us not just fatalities, but every type of accident that is happening, what the response times are, where they are happening, who is involved, age of the drivers, you name it. That information is there. There's a police statistical unit, right, where we get our information from, but they need more people, they need qualified people, they need persons that can make that unit something impactful. If that unit is empowered, then we can make decisions on where ambulances should be looking at, where police presence should be increased, and that's what happens in the other countries. You know, this is not like something new where we're trying to come with. This is something that is working around the world.
All right, so just before we go, you're holding your breath, let's say collectively, not you alone, the organization, that the minister will come away from that event with some kind of commitment, whether he expresses it or not, to move for some kind of action from the authorities on this question of the usage of the roads, both by motorists and by people who will cross or who have to cross the roads because of where they live.
Absolutely, you know, we can only hope. You know, we have seen changes. We have been involved in pushing for the merit points, and it has come on board. You know, like I said, there's a National Road Safety Council, of which the ministers, the Ministry of Work and Transport are the directors of. So they are advocating now, or at least doing their research in terms of the licensing office and the way that drivers are educated in getting a license. So there are many avenues that he can seek to address this, you know, but there, like I mentioned during the show, there's so many avenues that we can look at, some with immediate impact and some that are just necessary for a long-term impact on saving lives in the country.
All right, well, let's see what happens at the discussions. Dinesh Mahavir, Operations Manager, Arrival Live. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Best wishes for the meeting. This has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
WESN.
This holiday season, bring the magic of Christmas home with WESN's Joy of Christmas. Relive timeless classics, from the laughter to the heartwarming moments that make the season unforgettable.
Hey, like the lamp, not the rat, like the lamp, not the rat!
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God!
Oh, poor baby.
Experience Experience the joy of WESN special productions, crafted to bring you new stories and cherished memories. This year, let WESN bring the joy of Christmas to your home.
Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown!
Catch the spirit, catch the joy.
Anchors away. May the force be with you.
Only